I wanted to hear about what it was like to be a principal during COVID.
It was awful.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
It was terrible enough just being a person during COVID.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being the principal
Yeah.
of a public school, because you're kind of at the whims a little bit also there, right? Like you have limitations to your decision making.
Yeah.
Might be different if it was a private school again, but this is a public school and you were a principal and COVID happened.
So there was a day, it was 2019, the spring, the shutdown, 2019, 2020. Metro decides you can stay virtual, you can come back. So at this point,
This is spring of 2020?
No, this is fall of
20.
Yeah. So in essence, we've got two separate schools. One is a virtual school, one is an in-person school. But then all the kids who come to in-person, they have to wear masks. Okay. So then the governor says schools cannot mandate that children wear masks. And I literally just face palmed. And I was like, how do I explain to parents? The governor said that you don't have to wear a mask, but the school board says you have to wear a mask, and the school board is my boss. And I know that doesn't make any sense, but if I don't do what the school board says, I lose my job. And again, I made the comment, like, that's just being a puppet in the middle, you know, and there was just, educators, we love kids, tall kids, 18-year-old kids, preschool kids, cute little kindergarten kids, really funny, awkward middle school kids. We love kids. And it was really, really hard to stay focused on the kids because they had so much stuff going on at home. They were hurting. We're trying to get a technology infrastructure up and running that we don't have. We have to do school. We know we're doing school not the way that we know kids best learn. It was awful. And I think the hardest year was not the COVID year, but it was the following year when we thought everything was back to normal. And then before, because you guys were there, it was before school even started. I think I like mentally blocked it out, but Metro, we decided that we were going to do something. And I was like, oh no, like we're doing the same thing that we used to do.
Was it fall of 2021?
I bet you it was.
Okay.
21, 22. This is 22, 23. Yeah. Last year was so much harder because we all thought it was going back to normal. We all thought we're done with this stuff. And then
something did happen. I forget exactly what it was, but you saying that kind of jogs my memory a little bit. We were looking forward to going back to school, thinking for sure everything's going to be fine. But what was it? Because was it mask related or something?
Yeah, maybe.
So what else would it been?
Yeah, maybe it was we didn't have to wear masks, and then we have to wear masks. I mean, that makes sense. Gosh, we should know. Yeah. Come on, dads and guy who ran the school. Somebody here should know.
Dad's a school principal here. I know, right? What were the hot issues for you? Masks, virtual learning, whether we can bring the kids back in person?
It was the unknown, and it was parents saying, what are we doing? What are we going to do? And me having to go in front of people and constantly say, I don't know. I don't know. And the Creve Hall community was so gracious, and I was just so unbelievably blessed by how people were so kind and so gracious when I was just trying to be as vulnerable and open as I could about situations. Because, I mean, people trusted me. In a time when nobody knew what was going on, the fact that parents were trusting me with their children. That meant a lot. And I know who I am. I know what my thoughts are. I don't feel, and I didn't feel at the time worthy of that task. But it's like, that's okay, God. I'll show up another day. You know, and you know all the stress that you were experiencing at home trying to deal with your kids and the virtual school mess, and then so that was my job, and then coming home it was just nonstop.
Then you came home and had to deal with it on the other side, which is like now you're the parent.
Yeah. It was hard, and then having to again emotionally support these teachers who are like, this isn't going well, and I'm like, I know it's not, just do your best, and they're like, this is not teaching to me, this is not what I want to do. And it's like, yeah, I know this is a season, we will get through this, it's not always going to be like this. And they're like, well, when's it going to end? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was awful.
So clearly the weight of the responsibility is something that you took and take seriously. For parents to trust you with their kids is something you got emotional when you were just talking about it. That's something that really matters to you, and you wanted to be a good steward of that. But you are sort of there are limits to your decision-making ability. Yeah. So you're sort of caught in the middle.
Yes.
And that was the tension you were feeling as a principal.
Yeah, very much so.
Now, the school board, so that we could take the masks as one example, that would have been the school board's decision. And does Creve Hall Elementary have its own school board, or is there one school board for Metro?
Yep.
Oh, there's one school board for Metro.
So every school district is going to have a school board. How many school board members they have, it varies. They're always elected positions, and they always are the boss of the superintendent. Okay.
And then the superintendent is there one superintendent per school district?
There's one main superintendent, but there's going to be like associate superintendents or deputy superintendents, or you're in charge of curriculum superintendent, that kind of thing. But there's always one person who reports directly to the board, and everybody else reports to ultimately that superintendent.
Okay. So is it essentially school board, superintendent with their assistants and so forth, and then the principals? Or is there someone in between the superintendent and the principals?
There's usually somebody in between that. So like with Metro, it's principals, then you have principals of principals. That's not their official title, but that's what they are. Mm-hmm. And then you have like your curriculum director, and then you have your math director, and then you have they recently changed it, so I'm not sure, but they used to have like 3 or 4 associate superintendents or something along those lines.
I see.
So there's a lot of degrees of separation.
Yep. So the school board, when they make a decision about, hey, in their school district, they want all of the kids to be wearing masks, is that something where you think they are, sort of looking at what other school districts are doing, what other states are doing, what everyone else is doing, and trying to sort of
just kind of smart,
if they're smart,
or
are they like looking at, bring in the data, and look through that and then make their own decision, or is it more just like, look, let's blend in, other school districts are doing this, let's just do that here, or don't you really know how they arrive at those decisions?
I mean, it really depends on the board, because sometimes you have a board member who runs and is elected, and their whole platform is, I don't like the superintendent, I'm going to get him fired. And they get in there, and you're like, you can't do anything. It's just like politics at the national level. Mm-hmm. If you've got your you've got the deck stacked in your favor, you can get a lot done. Mm-hmm. But you can also just get nothing done. Mm-hmm. So if you've got, like, Metro's got a 7-person board, I think. So majority,
that's it?
Yeah, so majority's 4 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I would have thought it would have been bigger than that, I guess. So the school board for Metro Nashville is 7 people.
Maybe it's 9 people.
7 or 9.
Fact check. Who's the fact checker?
Can
I fact check myself on this?
It's not 15.
No.
Okay. Yeah, that's less than I would have thought then.
I'm having. Did I just lie? How many people?
9.
Okay. I recovered before.
You're good.
Yep.
Deep breath.
Deep
breath. Well, yeah. I know you want to talk about the woke thing, and I wish I was more.
No, we did.
No joke on this. I asked David Filson about that at CPA. I was like, I've heard people say like, we're not woke. I was like, you know, what does that mean? And I got a sermon for like 50 minutes and this is so David Filson. Like whenever we study the Bible, he'll like stop, you know, after like 20 minutes. He'll be like, well, what questions do you have? And I'm just like, yeah. Can you just please keep talking? Like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
But this is so dumbed down. But I think that the biggest thing I struggled with, you didn't ask this, but I think it relates, as a Christian in public education, was all kids and all families that come to our school, they have to feel seen, known, loved, and respected. And sometimes they are living a lifestyle that I do not agree with, or they're making decisions such as I'm changing my gender, or, you know, I'm a furry now. Mm-hmm. And it's, how do I love you without endorsing your lifestyle? And I think at times I probably fell on the wrong side of that, of loving more than maybe I could have. What am I trying to say? I think what I really struggled with was I want these kids to know that they're loved, because I'm trying to love them in a way that will point them to Christ. And I think sometimes families would have taken that as, oh, you accept this lifestyle. That was really hard because I didn't. Mm-hmm. But again, it's public school. It's not my place to come in and say, here's how you're supposed to live your life. And I think where that may be where a lot of the political, the LGBTQ agenda, the woke thing, I think where a lot of that stems from is families don't want to be told, here's how I should raise my kid. But school is a partnership with families where we're helping to raise your kids, and that's where it gets muddy. And if you and I ideologically agree, like at a place like at CPA where my girls are going, I'm like, yes, more of this, more, pour it down their throats. Mm-hmm. Whereas at the charter school my kid was at, I was like, we need to be careful. We need to be praying about this. We need to be asking good questions to make sure that my daughter is equipped to be in the world, not of the world.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And look, I'm a total dummy, and I am not an educator or an expert in that area whatsoever. But so this is totally for what it's worth. But I just don't think you need to be worried about like, oh, you aired a little bit too much on accepting people and loving them. That makes no sense to me. I think in the grand scheme, like it's going to find its own level. And I think erring on that side is always better than erring on the other side. And I think that, I knew like you have limitations there as a principal. So when it comes to the COVID stuff, isn't there a verse somewhere like everyone has authority over them and there's an authority over them? And that's just the way it is. I mean, even I knew like you weren't calling all the shots there. And so when it comes to, someone who is transgender or a furry or whatever, even acting, if they're acting out of line, then of course there's a category for that. But when it comes to like loving someone, I don't know. I guess here's what I'm trying to say is I think that as Christians, way too often we feel, well, first of all, I feel like most people err on the side of not loving and accepting and trying to just get that truth out. They just feel like they got to say it.
Yeah.
Like they got to say what they're disagreeing with. Every time they encounter something they disagree with, they feel like they got to say it. And I totally disagree with that. And then they also feel like, well, if you accept them or love them, then that just means you're accepting of their actions and everything. And I also disagree with that. I mean, love is going to win. You know what I mean? And I feel too like this idea of even just saying that love is going to win. Like in some ways, it feels like the left has tried to like co-opt the idea of love, but they can't co-opt love because God is love.
Right.
You know what I mean? So love is like, this is bipartisan. This isn't like something the left got a hold of and gets to have love. And then we're over here stuck with truth. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's not the way this works. Yeah. So I think, you loving on kids that you may have disagreed with their philosophy or their beliefs or anything like that is something that in the long run is going to pay off, because that is ultimately more powerful, I think, than you trying to let them know how you disagree with everything that you feel like, you disagree with.
Yeah. Well, I will accept that. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.